they would hold it in both hands, elbows next to the side. I do remember that. And hold their arms straight out like this so that there wasn't any sway to it. And then they were holding on to the two Y parts of the branch, and then the stem or the stick would stick straight out in front. And as they walked around, it would dip without them bending it or moving it themselves. The tip would dip. And as you moved around in that general area and kept moving back and forth and back and forth, if you kept getting the same results in the same general area, it was an indication that there was water. But I don't know how they could tell how deep the well was going to be. I was too young. I didn't listen or pay that much attention to it. It was just fascinating to watch. But I do know that they could tell and give you an estimate of how deep they would have to go and how much it would cost to be able to do it. And if they didn't go that deep, then of course you didn't have to pay for the
dowsing
extra
service
cost or anything. But I do remember them, Dad actually dug the well at the farm, and he just went out and picked a spot and dug, and he didn't have to go very far to hit water. So we didn't have to use a dowser at where the house was. Now, we did have to use one out in the pasture area where they would set up the stock tank to feed the cattle and stuff and water them so they wouldn't have to move them through fences and down to the river and back up again every time it was time to, get them water. And so they had to find, and of course we lived up on the hill, so there was a lot of land erosion and stuff, going down towards the Smoky Hill River. And they would have to find a flatter spot to put the water well and set the tank there so that they would make the best use of the land itself. And then the dowser would come along and he would walk in that area and see if that was a good area for water, and if it wasn't, they would find another spot and just keep going. And
so you were actually watching this as a child?
I was little. There's a lot of times I would sit on my dad's shoulders, and we had a big old black stallion on our farm, very docile. And I used to stand on the 55-gallon drum that we kept feed in, and I would bring him out of the shed, and I would have him in the corral, and I would stand on that, and I would stomp my foot on that drum, and the horse would come over to me so I could get on his back, and then I would walk down to where my dad was.
Kind of watch what they were doing?
Well, yeah, I was always nosy, but he refused to let me walk through the pasture by myself because of rattlesnakes. And so I thought, well, if I'm up on the horse, the rattlesnake can't get me. Never even thought about the fact that, it spooked the horse, and the horse would take off with a 4-year-old sitting on its back, hanging onto its mane, because I couldn't put the saddle on either.
If it didn't buck you off.
He never did. Never once. Just plodded along till